Most people can spot a high-pressure sales tactic from a mile away. We immediately recognize the aggressive salesperson, the online countdown timers, the limited time offers, and the high-pressured hard close. Over time, consumers have built up armor against these obvious sales tactics. But there's one sales weapon that slips past our defense every single time. Because it doesn't look like pressure, it doesn't feel aggressive. In fact, it feels genuine and it's relatable. It's sympathy. And when sympathy is used to influence decisions, it becomes one of the most powerful tools in sales. Not because sympathy itself is bad, but because it lowers your guard. When someone can make you feel bad for them, relate to their struggles, or create an emotional connection, your guard naturally comes down. And that's where consumers start making emotional money decisions instead of logical ones. Consumers know how to spot fear selling, scarcity tactics, and aggressive closers. But sympathy slips under the radar because it doesn't look like a traditional sales tactic at all. And that's exactly what makes it powerful. Unscrupulous charities and scammers are constantly evolving and becoming more sophisticated, which is why consumers have to stay aware, informed, and alert. Here's a great example of what I mean. Some fundraiser campaigns use what's called peer-to-peer fundraising or neighbor-to-neighbor fundraising. The easiest way to understand this is by comparing a telemarketing call to getting a message from a neighbor instead of some faceless corporation nobody knows. Here's how the strategy works. A charity recruits someone within the local community, one of your neighbors. That person then mails donation requests to nearby neighbors using their own return address. Because the request came through someone you see regularly in everyday life, people are more often to open the envelope, read the message, and feel a greater sense of obligation to give simply because it's coming from someone familiar. Most people naturally ignore random advertisement from faceless companies, but when the request comes from someone you see every day, it changes the dynamic. It creates emotional pressure and a sense of social obligation that wouldn't normally exist if the request came directly from the charity itself. That's exactly how the strategy works. It bypasses the defense people have towards cold fundraising requests. Instead of a message from an unfamiliar organization that you likely would throw away immediately, it uses the familiar neighborhood relationship to make the request harder to dismiss, increase social pressure to give. To understand why this works, we have to understand what sympathy actually is. The definition: sympathy is the feeling of a concern or sorrow for someone else's misfortune and situation. Naturally, we are wired to feel compassion when we see someone going through something difficult. And unscrupulous salespeople understand this very well. So how do they use it? They sell tragedy. They watch the headlines, the financial crises, the critical illnesses, the natural disasters, personal hardship. They use these emotional situations to trigger sympathy. Now think about this. Unscrupulous charities are not going to raise money for something emotional neutral like helping a local college recover from a drunken frat party. Instead, they focus on the most dramatic and emotional charged situations possible because emotion drives donations. And to be clear, many charities do legitimate important work. But these emotionally charged charity stories, the crying interviews, heartbreaking personal stories, and the sad animal commercial we constantly see on TV, can also be used in ways to reduce scrutiny and increase donations without full transparency. These same storytelling principles can be used by unscrupulous charities to maximize donations while discouraging people from asking questions. But when unscrupulous charities exploit these emotionally charged stories, they collect donations while only giving a tiny percentage, or in some cases none at all, to the actual victims. And that is one of the lowest forms of sales manipulation because it steals money from and attention away from legitimate causes that truly need help. This tactic is not limited to charities. And today, sympathy-based fundraising has become easier through digital donation sites. With just a few photos and an emotional story, and a share button, anyone can instantly create a fundraiser capable of reaching thousands of people within hours. And while many of these digital sites campaigns are legitimate and help people during real hardship, there are also seen countless situations where people exaggerated stories, misled donors, or completely fabricated emergencies that take advantage of public sympathy. Because once emotion takes over, many consumers donate first and ask questions later. The exact same psychology principles are often used by people in our everyday lives, including our family and our friends. Think about how these people ask for financial help. Because if they simply ask for money to go on vacation or a fun night out, most people would say no immediately, because those situations do not trigger sympathy. But when a request is framed as an emergency, an unexpected medical bill, food for the family, a personal crisis that conveniently requires money right now, and once sympathy is activated, it becomes harder to say no. Unscrupulous people understand that most consumers do not want to appear cold-hearted when confronted with someone in need. That emotional discomfort becomes leverage, and once emotion takes over, logic often takes a back seat. That's why sympathy can be influence consumers just as powerful as fear selling, scarcity selling, urgency selling, or high-pressure closing tactics. And that's why consumers need to be aware of it. Now, it doesn't mean you shouldn't help people, and it doesn't mean every person in need is dishonest. It simply means consumers should slow down and think clearly anytime someone is pulling both their heartstrings and their wallet at the same time. Now, whether you're buying a car, a refrigerator, solar panels, life insurance, the idea is to treat every money exchange like a sales situation and take a moment to step back and ask if you're being sold fairly or being pressured in a decision you wouldn't normally make, just like you would with any other important buying decision. Sympathy, when weaponized by unscrupulous people, become a con. Even in today's world, with our limited information at our fingertips, we have reviews, we have warnings, we have scam alerts. You think consumers would be protected more than ever, but they're not. Billions are still lost every year to scams, fraud, and high-pressure sales tactics that are more refined, psychological, and disguised than ever before. Because sales professionals are trained with tools designed to influence consumers' buying behavior and guide their decisions. And if that's the case, consumers need them too. That's why I follow one simple rule: the walk-away sales approach, the walk-away consumer approach. And it's simple. When you're in doubt, when you're not sure, just walk away. Now, if you ever dealt with a pushy salesperson, recognized the tactics in real time, avoided a scam, or learned a lesson the hard way, because I know I have, drop a comment. Your experience might help someone else avoid making the same mistake. See you on the next episode.